Alright, so hey guys, welcome back to another video of my Mira's Finest series. This time I'm gonna be using Mira to fight Pharsis the Ever Queen. Um, Once again, I'm gonna be talking about Mira as a character in both a team and a solo run setting, and I'm gonna be talking about her general strengths and weaknesses. So much like Lao, much like L, rather, my bad, Mia is a supportive character, though she tends to focus on debuffs rather than buffing allies. She does still have a few good buffing arts and Energy Source, Clarity Ray, and Gravity Cloak, but her strong suit is in debuffing enemies through arts like Subterfuge, Black Butterfly, Pathogen Blast. I forget the name of some of her other arts, but she does have a Blackout as well and a Topple and Gravity Blast. However, unlike Elle, she does also have a decent amount of offensive potential in the aura full specs, and then arts like Ether Blast, Beam Barrage, and Beam Bomber. Her skills that she doesn't have too many interesting skills, but she does have a few supportive skills like Tactical Analysis and Beauty Sleep. Tactical Analysis is the only one that really matters for this build, but offensively she also has some decent arts in Inner Search and Ether Boost. Inner Search being a very good art just for TP based art, for builds that use TP arts in general. I'm going to go ahead and get a bit more into the gear that I'm running on this build in particular. So for this build, I'm going to be focusing mainly on using Ether Blast offensively, and I'm not really going to be worrying too much about Beam Barrage and Beam Bomber. I tried other builds where I focused on those, and those just don't do as much damage as this, so this is what I ended up doing. I'm running Appendage Crusher, 5 augments potential Appendage Crusher because I want any appendage I target other than the horn to be able to be brought down to the minimum of -5. I could technically break the horn and target the core and not need to run this much Appendage Crusher, but because Mia does break appendages, if I break the core, then I could kind of just lose the fight there, and I don't really want to lose the fight because I can't do enough damage. So the other thing worth noting as far as the weapon goes is that I'm running Night Vision. This is because I'm going to be using both physical ranged and melee arts. So instead of just running a accuracy up, I'm going to want Night Vision because the restriction of I have to fight at night doesn't really matter too much when it's in over a boss. And then aside from that, I'm just going to kind of look through my, show you guys my gear. There's nothing really too worth mentioning, just the typical resistances. A couple of small notes. Resistance Reducer is going to be helpful for this fight because I do want to inflict some debuffs. And then Extend Overdrive here is very nice to have. I'm not running any arts gain TP, which means that the first segment of my overdrive, I'm going to have to build up enough TP through using Subterfuge to be able to activate overdrive again. And because I don't really have a ton of high hit count arts, that could be a little bit difficult without Extend Overdrive, so it's just nice to have, but it's not really needed. So getting into our arts, Full Specs and Energy Source both give me potential, which is going to be very helpful for powering up Ether Blast and Dispel. And then Full Specs also gives Ether Resistance, as does Clarity Ray, which will help me since I can't really afford to invest too heavily in that with the gear slots. Clarity Ray also cleanses debuffs, which is incredibly helpful for this fight in particular because aside from just the gravity resistance down, Pharsis can also inflict Time Bomb, which if you don't cleanse it fast enough or you don't have a resist to it, you will just lose half your health after a certain amount of time. Beam Barrage is just here as a high hit count. It doesn't really matter too much for actually doing damage on this build, but it's the best art that I have for building overdrive count. Something else worth mentioning is Beam Bomber technically has higher hit count, but because you have to wait for the projectiles to actually reach the enemy, it's not really better for actually building overdrive count, at least not in this case. Other than that, I'm running Subterfuge for my purple art. It is a 3-hit art and inflicts debuff resistance down. This will be nice for making it so I can inflict ether resistance down with Black Butterfly easier. However, it does have the drawback where it, because it doesn't do damage, it doesn't build overdrive count, where Myopic Screen, which is the other 3-hit purple art that you could on here, it does build overdrive count, which makes it a bit more useful there. Black Butterfly, like I already mentioned, inflicts ether resistance down. It's also 4 hit count, which means it's decent for building overdrive count as well. Dispel's just kind of here as an extra art. I don't really need it. It's just here as a little bit of extra damage that I can do if I should so choose. It's not very powerful, so it doesn't matter that much, but I thought I would at least mention it. Then Ether Blast will be the main damage dealing art that I have. Ether Blast is a pretty powerful TP art. It's 600 hit scaling in 3 hits, and it also has a 200% additive multiplier whenever used with an aura, which I will always have active because it increases potential and ether resistance, which is very nice. So getting into her skills real quick, Ether Boost and Inner Search are just here to do extra damage. Inner Search is a great art or a great skill to have on anything where you're using TP arts, just because it gives you a flat 20% boost to your potential. Then Tactical Analysis is just here for making it so I can get my debuffs off easier. Just to kind of briefly talk about the other skills that she has that are worth mentioning, Extra Armor is a pretty decent skill. I wouldn't say it's good, but Mia doesn't have access to Barrier herself, so it's pretty much useless in this situation. Resistant Flesh improving debuff resistances could also be nice, but I just don't really need it here. Then she also has Gravity and Beam Boost if you were using builds of those attributes instead of Ether, so just thought I would mention those real quick. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the fight. So I'm going to start off by targeting the wing. It's not really doesn't really matter which appendage I target, I just want to target something that's not the head, so that if I break the appendage, I don't have to worry about having to break the horn before I can do damage again. Since the horn does have a hardness of 3, where everything else has a hardness of 0. So I'm going to wait for a second before I activate the overdrive, make sure she starts walking towards me. Which she does. I want her to walk towards me so that I can use Beam Barrage instantly and start building my overdrive count, because like I said, I am kind of on a timer for how quickly I can build my overdrive count and build up my TP, since I do not have arts gain TP and can't just spam arts in order to get my TP back. Looks like I'm going to be pretty fine on getting it though. I just have to use one more subterfuge and then I don't really know why I use Black Butterfly there. But yeah, the overdrive should be pretty sustainable at this point. Just keep building the count. So something worth mentioning is that as overdrive count goes higher and higher, enemy debuff resistance goes down as well, which is relevant in this because once again I do want to be inflicting debuffs in order to improve my damage with Ether Blast. So that will be pretty nice, whereas usually that's not the most useful for solo builds. So thought I would give that a mention as well. And overdrive count should be at max, so hopefully there we go, get the ether resistance down. And go ahead and start doing damage. So as you can see, Ether Blast is already doing quite a bit of damage. It did about almost 600,000 there, and if I can get ether resistance down 7 inflicted, you can pretty easily hit 700,000 with this build. Just something worth mentioning. As the fight goes on though, I'm going to start doing a little bit less damage because Pharsis does get more defense in some of her later phases. Got ether resistance down inflicted again. So we're going to be entering phase 3 soon, which means that Pharsis is going to go ahead and start healing. And there is something worth mentioning with that, which is that based on how lucky you get with Pharsis healing, you can kind of get into a heal loop, which is not ideal. where essentially she will heal at about the same rate that Mia is able to damage her, because Mia is, once again, not the most offensive character naturally, which means that you're gonna kind of have to keep on top of it and hope you get a little bit lucky with her not healing whenever she's low. This build is definitely capable of outpacing the healing. I forgot to refresh full specs apparently. It's all good, I didn't die. Didn't get punished for it. At least not too hard. If I can get off one more Ether Boss, I should be able to kill her here. But she's probably going to heal, yeah. So at least one more cycle. I'm going to go ahead and heal up a little bit with this. I'm able to get one with the boss that should kill her. Unless it misses. F. So I guess we're doing at least one more round. I'm gonna want to heal up a bit. I'm actually gonna wait a second here before I try and inflict Ether down because I have a second here to do some damage. This is a little bit bad because I got launched and then she's gonna heal, so that's a little bit unfortunate. This fight's going on for a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but like I said, you can just get a bit unlucky sometimes. It usually doesn't go this poorly. I used that with the wrong thing, so that's going to do like no damage. Go ahead and just refresh a bit. Play patient and reset. One more Ether Boss after this should finish off if she has to heal. Yeah, I can probably just go even with the secondary forward. I'm just going to be patient. And this will kill. So that was the Mira versus Pharsis. I hope you found this build to be, if nothing else, at least a little bit interesting. I thought that it was... It's a very different build than the kind that I would usually use for a superboss, and that it uses both melee and ranged arts, and then also focusing on a TP art rather than a normal physical or ranged. I hope that you enjoyed this and maybe learned something. Maybe, if not, then you at least found the build interesting, and I hope you have a great day. See ya.